Okay, this is it.
This one looks dangerous!
Hey guys, hope your day's going well. So today I wanted to go over a build that I've been working on. It's using the Wrathbringer, and I like to call it the Telebonk build. It's very fun. The Wrathbringer itself does about 1600 DPS, and with Juggernaut that goes up to roughly 2200. And then when you factor in the mods, that's going to add about 1100 DPS on top of it. So it's not, you know, some massive powerhouse, but it definitely can clear Apocalypse, and it has a ton of sustain and tank to it too, and it's just a lot of fun. So I'm going to go into a little bit more detail here in case anyone needs it, and we can go over that together. So starting off, we are running Invader. We're not building around Wormhole, but we are using it because the biggest problem is not being able to put our DPS out because we have to travel there, and this solves it. Something worth noting Ring of Spears and Nanoswarm proc this. It takes the proc away, so don't count on having it unless you don't have either of these mods up. We are mainly using it as a free dodge, as a way to get our clones out to do more damage in lifesteal, and sometimes we use it to get away too. The secondary is Challenger. You can put this as your primary if you need to have a second chance. I would advise not, though. You're losing a lot of damage in lifesteal, and we're running Juggernaut. It is a bit unfortunate that we're losing a lot of... it generates a lot of bulwark, but we don't need it. It is unfortunate that we're losing that. However, it's okay. The Juggernaut offers quite a lot of other things as well. Namely, we're getting the increased movement speed, swing speed, and 50% damage off of this one here, and the stagger, which is huge, lets us face tank a lot of things we really have no business face tanking. Let's definitely lock that in. We have the 40 for fast dodge and then 65 for normal, so use whatever drip you want. I'm using a fast roll one. I like it. It looks really cool. You don't have to use that if you don't want to. The relic, I am using a profane heart. You can also use a shielded heart if you prefer, if you don't want the lifesteal, if you want to have more effective HP. I think out of the two I prefer the lifesteal. The mods are running. Again, this is preference. You can change it up if you don't want them to be this, but I'm using mod duration, melee speed, and health. I feel the Wrathbringer benefits quite a lot from the melee speed. It makes the build feel good. And then we are using two mods actively with the Nanoswarm and Ring of Spears, so I like the mod duration to help smooth things out. And that is quite a lot of damage, so I like having it up at all times. For the Amulet, we have a few choices, actually. Since we're bleeding, this is getting procced at all times. We get 20% damage, the 10% DR. This is usually adding about 85, like 80 to 90-ish effective health points from that DR. It's quite a lot. I struggle to give it up, but you can, if you would like. You can use, let me see if I can pull that up here. Here it is, Installation Driver. This is giving you 15% all damage, and it's giving you 7% haste, which improves your action speed, so swing speed, movement. That's a lot of things, quite a lot. I'm using light roll already, and I personally prefer the DR, so I don't use it. You can if you like it though. If you feel you don't need the DR, you can swap that out. You can also, you have a couple other choices. You can use the Butcher's Fetish. I don't like it for this build. It's not really a build that I feel I need to power swing with, and it makes it feel awkward. Another one is the, if you want, I don't use it on this build either because I don't have any cooldown going here, but you can use this as well. This will give you, it'll give you 4 warps into Juggernauts. This is the Hyperconductor. We're not spamming Wormhole. We're not using the damage from it. We're just using it to get around. So I personally don't like that one. It's on other builds I do, not for here. And then another one is this guy right here, Matriarch's Insignia, 35% damage with melee, obviously, and then it causes you to restore stamina. Personally, with the Juggernaut, I don't feel I need this, and I also use Gull Serum with potency. I don't. But if you make changes to your build and you realize these are problems, you have other alternatives. Atonement Fold. This is mandatory to proc this perk. You have to have this. Hardcore. Now I would suggest having this as well because this is going to give you 5 stacks of bulwark just by default. You can swap it out though if you don't need that much and you are kind of bothered by how much bulwark generation you're wasting. You can swap this out to something like a dried clay ring, which is going to make all of your bulwark DR, give you half of that as damage. Let me see if I can get that up for you. Where are you hiding? And then this will just give you a static single bulwark charge. This makes things very finicky. I don't like having to play a very certain way, a very specific way by using my Juggernaut perks and my relic. I don't like that. But you could consider doing something like that if you end up using the semiconductor. If it's like, oh, I want this, but I also want to use Juggernaut, like that's okay. You can start considering doing that there. And then you have 2 utility rings here. I prefer to use the lifesteal one. I like consistency in my builds. I like it to be I can play it how I want. It's always going to work properly. So I tend to pick things that are going to work like that. However, other choices are just staple damage rings, like the Burden of the Destroyer with a 15% damage, but you lose 30% fall off for your weapons. Not really a big deal for this. If that's what you want to use, you can use that. You know, if you end up going with more charges of Wormhole and you're like, hey, I kind of want to make that work, you can use the Akari Warband. It's right here. This is going to give you a 15-second buff every time you use Wormhole, because that is a perfect dodge. It increases your crit and crit damage. I don't really want that. There's another one too, I forgot the name of it, so just give me one. Memento, it's right here. 20% damage for melee, and then you get this flop. That's not getting procced though. I don't really like this one as much. I'd rather just use whatever, the Destroyer one, but you know, those are two things you can use too. And then I'm using, for the other utility ring here, I have 15% attack speed and the crit. Again, the attack speed makes the build play a lot better. It's a slow swinging weapon. And I'm choosing to get the speed here rather than the haste on the amulet, because I want the DR. That's what I'm doing. If you find you don't really need that, or you have the haste off of the amulet, some other choices are like, let's say you end up deciding, oh, I'm going to actually use my charge attacks. You know, like you can use something like this. Increases melee speed, reduces stamina cost by 30%. That's big. Moving on here, moving to the weapons. I'm using a pulse rifle. You don't have to. You can, if you see the pulse rifle and you think, wow, I don't want to get that. A Black Maw I would suggest to you is a very easy one. You can get it from Brabus. It starts with the hunter, not the handler. I'm sorry, guys. The handler by default. That works just as well. You can use it too. I like this because the firing pattern is very similar to using Ring of Spears. Now, Ring of Spears, this thing pops out, spins around you, a bunch of spears. You can shoot them out by clicking the mod button even when you're not aimed, and they hit very hard. They hit for like 800 to 800, 900 to 1800-ish. They hit very hard. And if you say you teleport behind the guy and it's like, oh my god, he ran away, it's like you can just fire one of those things off at him and hit him, and a lot of the times if you don't have Nanoswarm, that's going to get a 300%. And the other cool thing is if you hold it and there's spears out, they come back towards you, go through anybody on their way, and then they explode near you. It's very fun to use. I like it. It does a lot of damage. And then this is a very expensive mod. I think it's like $12.50, and it lasts forever, so we use feedback. And this works very well with this, because it's just this. I don't know why you'd use anything else. This is very good. I don't suggest using anything else if you're using an experience, but you could use Twisting Wounds because we have no way of getting bleed damage from our build on its own. Moving over, that's a good segue for the Wrathbringer. This has a stack of 5% up to 10 every time you take damage, so this is procced at all times. We're doing 50% damage with this thing. That's the Awakening perk doing that. Adding on to that, I do another 30% damage because of a bleeding entity within 10 meters. So that counts me. I'm a bleeding entity, so I just have 80% damage on this thing by default. The final perk, though, however, the target has to be bleeding for this lifesteal to work, which is unfortunately, I'm not making use of that, but you can throw pipe bombs at people if you're super adamant on that working, or you could use that charge attack that makes melees do bleeding ring if you want to. I don't remember what that's called. Let's find that for you. If I can find it. Here it is, Blood Jewel. Charge attack, supply, bleeding over 20. I don't think that's a good idea, but that's if you want to do that. Another good option here, I don't like it though, but another option you may want to consider is Overdrive. I should pull this up. It's going to be 20% crit chance and then 25% crit damage. I don't like this though. It's very inconsistent. It's 10 seconds. It can fall off, and it does. It makes me play in a way that I don't like. It makes me have to feel like I'm always compelled to melee, and sometimes I don't want to do that, or sometimes the boss flies away and I can't do it, and then I've got this very painful wind up to get these 5 stacks back. I don't like it. Where I really do like it is with oh my goodness, I forgot the name of it. It's fist weapon. Where are you hiding? Feral Judgment. I keep forgetting the name of this. It's very good with Feral Judgment because you can just hit them 3 times, one more time, backstep, charge attack, and then it hits them 10 times. That is amazing with that. Plus, it has a very high base crit chance. Like weapons like that where it hits a lot, I like them. When it's like, hey, I hit this guy 4 times and you've got like a 50% crit chance, and in reality you have a chance of just none of those critting because the thing hits so slow. It's like, I don't want to do this. Where with the other one, yeah, like you're gonna have it. So I don't really like it. If you like it, you can. I would suggest going for that if you're building like the Akaris, you know, you got a Butchers, yada yada. You're trying to get a lot of crit, make it consistent. Sure, you can try it out. I didn't really like it. Last but not least, here we got the Nebula, Nanoswarm, and the Maelstrom because the feedback is stolen. Now you don't have to use this. I think sometimes in my inventory I have an Enigma actually, because there are sometimes when the melee build kind of feels terrible, and those times are when you're in Yesha and those roly-polies are coming at you and there's the birds. I cannot stand those things. I will use Enigma for those things. I find that it's good to keep an open mind and swap out your secondary sometimes for what you need, because there's other options out there. You don't have to always use Nebula, but it is quite good. And for just general purpose, yeah, it's going to be your go-to for the Nanoswarm, and we're just speccing it to get it back as quickly as possible. Moving on to the traits, you can use whatever you want for traits, honestly. It's really preference, but we're going to go over what I've chosen and what I like. First off here, Spirit and Chakra. This is increasing the mod duration and sphere generation. You can use that Arcane one that makes the melee hits do more mod generation. I opted not to because I want the primaries to kick in too. And yeah, this is helping us keep up Nanoswarm and Ring of Spears, because again, that's like 1100 DPS for free basically, while we just run around. And then again, the weapon does like 2200 DPS with Juggernaut. That's like a lot to leave off the table, so I have it up. I went Bark Skin because I'm light rolling to help with the DR a bit here. This is if you have a higher armor amount, you know, you might want to consider getting rid of that. Expertise, I got this because, you know, I do like the wormhole coming back, especially with how it's expertise, you know. Fortify, obviously. We are a life leech build. I went with leech. I did not get siphoner. I felt we've got 13.5% crit chance before using this trinket relic. I'm sorry, it's a lot. I didn't feel the need to. I went potency in 5. I do like using the consumables, especially confidence booster, because it gives you stagger, and then I do like the I forgot the name, rocket fuel too. It gives you the attack speed. They're both good, and I like to use the fair needle sometimes as well to help offset just make it feel smoother with the mods. I think Gulfstream is broken, to be honest, especially with Juggernaut. You just like don't use any stamina, you just roll forever. It's very good, and I like having these at 30 seconds and 90 seconds with 5. I feel I don't need 10 personally, because that makes them they're usable. It's very good. Regrowth is at 3 to offset the bleed. Swiftness, that was my dump stat. I have it at 8. I wish it was higher. It's not. And then Vigor at 10 to help with the survivability. And that's about it. Just moving over to the stats here. Damage reduction, we're looking at 67.47%. This, by the way, is missing the consumables, so it's not skewed anyway. This would be higher with the whatever. Lifesteal 13.5, like I had mentioned. EHP is 530, quite a lot of health, especially when you consider your fast rolling. And yeah, like it's very tanky, does a lot of damage. It's a lot of fun. I mean, it's not like a absurd amount of damage, but you know, it's like 3300 DPS. That's pretty decent, and it's very fun. So you know, check it out. Maybe you'll like it. If you have any questions or concerns or any suggestions, you know, leave a comment and I'll take a look. Have a good rest of your day. Bye now.